A function shows the relationship between an independent variable and a dependent variable. The independent variable is x, and that's your input. That's what goes into the function. The output is the y value that you get after you perform the operations in the function. And it'll make much more sense and really kind of click, I think, once you see some examples, because this sounds a little complicated, but really you put in a value of x and you get a value of y as a result of the operations in the function. Let's look at that a little more in a little more detail with some examples. This is a very simple example of a function. This is read as f of x. Well, the function of x, if x equals, if x plus 3 equals some y that we don't know, and y is what we're trying to find out, right? So if we put 5 into this equation, we will have 5 plus 3 equals 8, and 8 is our output, which means that 8 is the value of y. If we put 10 into that same function, we get 10 plus 3 equals 13. Our output is 13, and the value in that case would be 13 for y. If we put in a number for 50 in that function, we get 50 plus 3 equals 53, and the output would be 53, meaning that that's the y value when x equals 50. So when x equals 5, we get 8. 5 is our x value, 8 is our y value. Here we get 10 as an input, which is x, and our output is y, of y is 13. Our input, say 50, into that function gives us a y value of 53. Very simple, I hope. Another example, evaluate this function, y equals x divided by 2, for the input values of 18, 20, and 22. So in this example, we are given the x values. These are the values we will put in for x into this function to find our y value. And it wants to know, well, which one of these sets of number is the correct one? Now, some of you are very smart and you will see it right away because you'll do the math in your head. But for those of you who aren't quite there yet, I will show you what the correct answer is and how we arrived at it. So the correct answer is C, 9, 10, and 11. And very simply, we put the x values, wherever we had an x in our function. So this x became 18 divided by 2 is 9, and then the x became 20 divided by 2 equals 10, and then we put in 22 for x, and we get 22 divided by 2 equals 11. So far, very simple examples for you in the elementary grades who may be working with functions. But let's look at a different example, and it's going to be easy too. It's just different. They did the opposite thing of the other examples where we had to figure out in the very first problem, we had to decide what our x values would be, right? In the second example, it told us what our x values were, and we had to find y. Well, in this example, they are giving us both x and y values, and they want us to tell them which of these functions is the function that's represented by the numbers in this table. So this table of values is telling us, this table of values, they're saying, is what they obtained when they put these x values in. They're saying that these are the y values that came out of it. Now, some of you, again, you may be able to do it in your head, but I like to go through the steps for those who may not know how to do it that quickly. Not yet. They'll get there. So we have to evaluate each one of these functions, meaning we have to choose some x values to put into these functions to see if it gives us the y values. So I started with 2 because it's the smallest input number, and I put a 2 into this very first function, and wherever I have x is where I have to put my x value from the table. So this 2 from the table replace this x. And I simply multiply and I get 2 times 2, which is 4. 4 minus 1 equals 3. Well, guess what? I know that that's not the correct function because when I put 2 into the correct function, I should get a negative 3. So we can eliminate that one. So I move to the next function, y equals x minus 5. And wherever I have an x, I'm going to put a 2 in its place. So over here, I end up with 2 minus 5, and that gives me a negative 3. Oh, looks like that might be the correct one. But I think we should double check and do one more number just to make sure we've chosen the right function. So I'm going to put a 5 into this function, and I'm going to end up with 5 minus 5 equals 0, which tells me that's not the correct function, even though the first number appeared to give me the the function I was looking for. It really wasn't. So you have to be careful of that. Now, the next function is 2x minus 5. So I'm going to go back and put a 2 into this equation. I take the 2 from this table, put it into this equation, and I end up with 2 times 2 minus 5 equals a negative 1. Again, I know that's not correct because I should get a negative 3 when I put 2 into my function. So we can eliminate that. And so by process of elimination, we know the correct answer is y equals 2x minus 7. And if you want to just check a couple of numbers just to make sure you have the right one, you can do that. But that is correct because we get the right y values here when we use the 2 and the 5 from the table of inputs. I hope that didn't complicate things. I really hope it's easy for you to understand. But if you need me to go over it in more detail, simplify anything at all, just email me at the email address in the description of this video. But until next time, this is Grandma T. Take care, and I will see you soon.